Good evening. My name is Odie Hawkins, and once again, it's Monday evening, and I'm about to read one of the columns that I wrote for the African Times newspaper sometime during the years 1996 to 1998. Fun time. Uh, as I've said before, the columns are about what I felt something about. I was given carte blanche to just write about whatever I felt something about. So I did that, which is why we have I've been asked, why is there such a variety of columns? Because there's no particular one-legged subject. It was not about politics only or about racial matters only, but very often they were, because my main focus was to make some comment on the kind of reception that black news and views was being given on mainstream press, and this was like an alternative black press, African newspaper, very good newspaper. Before I begin, I'd like to say something. Zola.
Yes, Odie.
What kind of movie was that we saw this afternoon that was so interesting? It was very interesting.
American fantasy.
American fiction.
Fiction, that's right. American fiction. Thank you for correction.
It was labeled as a satirical thing, which it was, but it was also about a very interesting thing concerning relations that people had with each other. It was an in-depth movie. I thought some parts of it were just a wee bit slow, and then there were other times when they just sort of pulled along some subjects concerning the gay guy and his situation.
Right.
But it wasn't stupid.
No, and it seemed to emphasize the fact that, you can be a brilliant writer, a talented writer. And sometimes there's no room in the market, quote unquote, market, for you, that you have to write trash if you want to make money.
Yeah.
Okay? Sometimes that is the case.
Well, I miss black satire a lot since Dick Gregory died, who was one of the best at it.
This is true.
And Richard Pryor could be very satirical. But meanwhile, it seems to me, without painting everybody with the same brush, too frequently, too often, I think black comedians just depend on the lowest level of humor that they can find, especially if it's one of those places where you can use a lot of dirty words.
Right. Well, I think George Carlin was very good at...
MF, I just get bored with that.
Yeah, I think George Carlin was great at being broad,
That's a wonderful example.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a
He
wonderful
hit
example.
Everybody.
Well, anyway, we saw American fiction, and it puts me in a good mood to read something that I'm called Celebrating African American History Month. And it's interesting because this was written in February of 1998,
Whoa.
and we're coming up on Black History Month pretty soon.
Right.
And here's what I said way back then, and let's see if it has some applications to today. If we were back in Ghana this month, we would be celebrating our gorgeous selves by tripping around to our favorite places, most of them to the left of center. An eclectic collection of African Americans, Cuba, Brazil, Jamaica, Nicaragua, Panama, LA, Chicago, New York, Rome, Madrid, Stockholm, Copenhagen, Lagos. These men and women were coming from all kinds of places, where they lived, where they loved, as they were fond of saying. And here we are at the Country Kitchen restaurant in Osu, a neighborhood in Accra, a lovely thatched hut open on 3 sides to kick it with a holiday brunch. Despite the fact that some of us live in Ghana, West Africa, we do not think of ourselves as expatriates in the Euro sense of the word. Actually, I'm back home, if you can dig where I'm coming from. We are seriously involved with dozens of projects, businesses, concerns, most of them having to do with bridging the artificial gaps that have been created by the usual suspects to keep Africans and Africans abroad from sharing the bomb. 2 days later, we meet at the cafe on the grounds of the W.E.B. Du Bois Center of Pan-African Culture. We have asked one of the most respected priests in Accra to pour a libation for us, to help us pray for the reconciliation of all people of African descent everywhere. One of our Ghanaian friends thinks it's all a bit much. Oh, come on now, chaps. We don't need all of that sort of thing. Libation indeed. Kwame is a good brother, just a mite misguided. We had similar problems with him and a few others when we tried to petition the government to offer official recognition of Kwanzaa. My brother, it is your birthday, your holiday, not ours. Why should we be forced to honor it? Forced? We couldn't make them understand that all of us would benefit from recognizing, honoring, celebrating the lives of all of our heroes and sheroes. Zumbi, Nzingha, the Jamaican Maroons, Rigoberta, Tubman, Marley, Hannibal, Rosa Parks, Rigoberta Menchu, the Guatemalan activist, Henson, Robeson, Dr. Margaret Burroughs, Nkrumah, Lady Day, Bird, Chano Pozo, Armando Peraza, whoever. They wouldn't buy it. We still have a serious problem with some Africans about the recognition of the diaspora. Who knows why? If you get away from your tour, big hotel circuit, where nobody talks about anything but things, and get down to the chop bar level with an honest bowl of kinky fish and pepper in front of you, shital, or some well-pounded fufu and light soup with a piece of goat in it, to talk to the average person, you may come away illusioned in a negative way with our sisters and brothers in the motherland. Many of them refer to your ancestors as though they were talking about a separate tree or something, but they're not to be blamed for their ignorance. The same media that feeds us so much misinformation has never informed them at all. Who said you're only as rich as your source of info? Back to the Pan-African History Celebration groove in Ghana. One of our more spiritually enlightened sisters suggests that we take a trip to the town of Larteh, to the shrine of Akinodi. It is an exhilarating 2-3 hour drive around in watery circles spaced out. The night-bombed air must be very close to the temperature of our bodies, with the hint of a breeze coming from several mysterious directions. Moments later, the earth seems to open up gently, and we are enclosed by a troop of and committed schedules ourselves for the weekend. The Nana Oparabea, deceased, moved to another level in 1990, was the priestess of the shrine of Akinodi, a place where many African American members of the religion pilgrimage every year. It has been suggested that Kwame Nkrumah, the Osagifo, an Nzingha speaking man and a devotee to Akinodi, received some of his powers from Nana. Ashe.
Ashe.
As our taxi caravan slowly snakes through Larteh streets to their shrine, we see many young women dressed in white, their faces and bodies smeared with white spiritual makeup walking here and there. We smile and joke. Maybe they've heard of African American History Month and they're joining us. We are admitted to the shrine, all 9 of us. 3 have decided to opt out at the last minute unable to cope with the spiritual weights that might be placed on their Christian shoulders by going into a voodoo temple. Give me a break. Nana's Ochame, this is her spokesman, the guy you talked to her. Nana's Ochame, a bald-pated, Chinese-looking brother, receives us cordially and speaks to Nana on our behalf. She accepts our offering of Hinke schnapps. The Dutch waged themselves into our spiritual practices when they realized how many libations were being made every year. A lot of gin sold. Every year, for the shrine agrees to meet us, listen to our request. Nana agrees to meet us, listen to our request, and perhaps make a libation in a serious matter. Sometimes our ancestors will not drink. Nana appears to be a well-worn 100 or so, but her eyes are baby bright and cyber-wise. After our audience with her and the libation she has offered to our ancestors, grant them their deepest prayers, several of us share the opinion that she had X-ray vision. Ain't nobody can tell me that Nana didn't look straight through my eyes and into my head, okay? Midnight on the terrace veranda at Tamara's, gorgeously arranged cafe, motel, hotel on the fringe of Latte. We sit stirring liquid glasses of warm beer, watching the dancers and musicians. We exchange bewildered looks. Where did they come from? Where did they come from? The ensemble is superb. The drummers are lords of rhythm, and several of the women have centrifugal hips that do everything. After 15 minutes of a welcoming dance ceremony, they invite us to come to Africa, come home. We are all dancers, and we dance. How could we not dance with drumming like that? We dance so well that some of the customers, where did they come from? Paste CDs on our sweat-soaked foreheads, and members of the ensemble give us applause. And just as suddenly as it started, it's over. 3 hours later, the ensemble moves off into the night. The next day, we made half-hearted jokes about what the brothers and sisters in America might be doing. You know, it kind of pisses me off that I have to wait till February every year just to see an African film or an Afro-Cuban film or an Afro-Brazilian film at the Magic Johnson Theater. Yeah, that really is a drag, huh? But what about all the fast foods, Afrocentric bullshit that some people pull out of the box? Don't be so hard on folks, my brothers. People are just doing the best they can with what they know. And on that note, I'm ending African American History Month until this time next year.
Fantastic.
But of course, I'll be celebrating African American History Month all of the weeks until we get back to that month again, because we do it
whenever,
all the time.
Amen. This is so true.
Celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself.
Celebrate life. And with that, your website is www.odiehawkins.com. It was a pleasure listening to your reading tonight, sir.
Appreciate y'all. Appreciate y'all being here.
Appreciate you too. And with that, incense and all.
This.
This.
Got it.